The scene is set on a foggy morning at Buckingham Palace, where the faint light pierces through the mist, creating an atmosphere that is both mysterious and magnificent. Tourists stand around, enveloped in the ancient air of England, where every stone and every wall of the palace tells profound historical tales. The laughter and chatter of the crowd blend with the birds singing from the surrounding trees, but amidst this peaceful setting, something unusual is about to unfold. A group of tourists, led by a man in his 30s, has become the center of attention. He appears quite ordinary, but his smug smile and confident demeanor draw everyone's gaze. With a steaming cup of coffee in hand, he walks towards the area where the royal guards stand, showing no sign of respect or surprise. This stands in stark contrast to the others, who have come to admire the palace's beauty and experience the solemnity of the country. Royal Guard Michael stands tall, unmoving, completely oblivious to the murmurs around him. He is a man of discipline, having faced countless similar situations and always maintaining his composure. But today, it seems something special is about to happen. The steps of this tourist, Michael, will change everything. While the other visitors simply watch, take photos, and silently admire, he decides to draw attention in a different way. He walks straight towards Michael, the royal guard, who stands solemnly like a statue. "Hey mate, why so serious?" His voice rings out, full of smugness and challenge. Immediately, a loud laugh erupts from his group, making the atmosphere even livelier. Michael, as always, does not respond. He continues to stand still, his gaze fixed on a point ahead. This is his job, to face the tourists' jokes without ever showing any sign of disturbance. However, inside, the tension begins to rise, like a string pulled taut. Michael stands like a statue, his patience and discipline evident in every gesture. His appearance alone commands a sense of unshakable seriousness. He is tall and solid, with eyes that never blink, seemingly able to see through everything in front of him. His bright red uniform and black leather hat only enhance the image of a true soldier. His shaved head, expressionless face, and tightly clenched hands show that he is always ready for any situation. Every day, Michael's job remains the same. He is part of an ancient tradition, a protector of the royal family's dignity and honor. With this job, he must endure every intrusion and mockery from tourists, yet never react. He has learned to stay calm in all circumstances, mastering his emotions, no matter the awkward situations. But in that moment, when the group of tourists draws near, a strange sensation arises within him. The mocking laughter from the group, the challenging gaze of the man leading the group. All of this does not break Michael's stillness. He remains motionless, silent, but inside, repressed emotions begin to rise. He has faced these jokes many times before, but today feels different. All of this teasing seems like a test of Michael's patience, but he knows this is the very reason he exists here. He is the model of discipline, a symbol of respect for royal tradition, not a puppet for tourist pranks. The tourist leading the group, with a smug smile and a gaze full of challenge, steps forward towards Michael. He holds a cup of coffee in his hand, sipping it as though savoring every moment of his sightseeing experience. But now, it seems that admiring one of the most famous historical landmarks in London is no longer his purpose. His real goal is to prove that he can do anything without fear of consequences. "Hey mate, why do you look so serious?" His voice rings out arrogantly, as if trying to provoke a reaction from Michael. He stands right in front of the guard, showing no hesitation. The crowd around them begins to stir, some laughing quietly, while others stand by, curious. A few people in the tourist group begin recording videos, their phones flashing repeatedly, adding to the sense of a public spectacle. This tourist, with his mocking smile, is trying to draw all attention to himself, creating a moment he can share with his friends when he returns. Michael remains unmoved. He knows that not responding to these jests is the best way to protect his dignity and that of the royal family. But that does not mean he doesn't feel the tension in his body. Every second that passes, he clearly feels his efforts to maintain respect are being tested. The tourist, noticing that Michael is not reacting as expected, becomes even more delighted. He takes another sip of coffee, seemingly having a new idea. He raises an eyebrow, glances at his friends, then suddenly spits a bit of coffee into Michael's face. The entire crowd freezes. A wave of silence spreads, and all eyes turn to Michael. This moment seems like the climax of everything. The tourist believes he has won. He turns to his friends, smiles smugly, and continues mocking Michael. "Wow, look at that. He's not even moving. Maybe he's a robot," he says, his voice dripping with sarcasm. The group bursts into laughter, while some of the other tourists around begin recording the scene, thinking it will be a memorable moment to share on social media. Michael does not react, but he can feel the tension building in his body. His gaze remains steadfast, unchanged. However, inside, disappointment begins to set in. The tourist's actions are not just ordinary provocation. They are a deep insult to his dignity, to the royal family, and to all those who have served in the military. The area around Buckingham Palace seems to pause for a moment. The crowd suddenly falls silent, the tension in the air so thick that the sound of the tourist's footsteps is audible. All eyes are on Michael. The people around have now realized that the tourist's actions are an unforgivable insult. Not only did he spit in the guard's face, but he did so with a completely rude and disrespectful attitude. As the crowd is filled with surprise and anger, the tourist stands there, grinning as though he has just pulled off a great joke. He wipes his mouth with his hand, then looks at the crowd with a smile that doesn't change, as if proudly displaying his actions. "What's your problem? I spat in your face. Why aren't you reacting?" he yells, his voice full of challenge, causing his friends to laugh along. They don't feel embarrassed. On the contrary, they seem to think they are the stars of a reality TV show. A few people in the crowd begin to grow angry. An elderly woman, leaning on a cane, angrily speaks out, "What the hell are you doing? Don't you have any respect? This is not a comedy stage." The tourist just sneers, turns to look at her, and challenges, "Oh, old lady, weren't you here to watch the show? Why are you upset? Maybe you just don't get that I'm joking." But the more he speaks, the more his disrespect becomes apparent, and those words make everyone in the crowd feel as if they themselves are being insulted. Some people frown, others shake their heads, but all can sense the rudeness in his tone. Things grow even more tense when the tourist steps closer, entering Michael's protective zone, the line that no tourist is allowed to cross. This is a discipline that cannot be touched. Michael is not just a soldier. He is a protector of honor, standing between the values of the country and the thoughtless ones. "So what? What are you going to do? You dare stop me?" The tourist snarls and reaches out, attempting to touch Michael's hat as a public provocation. Michael feels the discomfort rising in his body, but he cannot let his patience be broken. However, he cannot stand still any longer. Just when it seems like things are about to spiral out of control, an elderly man emerges from the crowd. His walk is slow, each step seemingly weak, but no one can deny the hidden strength in his gaze. He is not just any tourist. He is a veteran, and his presence clearly reflects that. As the veteran stands in the middle of the crowd, his eyes lock onto the tourist spewing insults. He does not speak immediately but stares intently at the young man, his gaze unwavering. The tourist still does not realize that he is facing someone who has endured hardships the young man could never imagine. Finally, the veteran speaks, his voice strong and decisive, but also stern. "You have no idea what you're doing. These guards, they are not your entertainment. You have no right to treat them like this. What the hell is this? Old man, are you asking me to apologize?" The tourist laughs mockingly, but this time, his smile wavers. A feeling of unease begins to spread through his body as the veteran approaches, his eyes still fierce. "Do you know who this man is? He is not just any guard. You are offending not only Michael but the history, the traditions of this country." The veteran continues, his voice firm and full of weight. At this moment, Michael feels a shift in the atmosphere. The tourist begins to show signs of regret, but he still tries to appear confident. He turns to his friends, unsure of what to do next. But the veteran's gaze, filled with respect and a sense of righteousness, forces him to stop mocking. The tension in the air thickens. The tourist stands before Michael, his eyes full of defiance and stubbornness. But this time, he cannot find the words to escape the confrontation with the veteran. A wave of anxiety begins to rise within him, and the confidence he once had starts to fade. "What have you done?" the veteran asks, his voice like a stern warning, causing the tourist to hesitate. Before the tourist can respond, Michael steps toward him decisively. He does not need many words, but every step he takes exudes confidence and strength. The tourist, at this point, feels something is off. He cannot predict what Michael will do next. "You've crossed the line," Michael says, his voice cold and commanding. He reaches out with his hand and halts, just a few steps away from the tourist. "Step back. Stop." A silence blankets the space. The tourist looks into Michael's eyes and can feel the seriousness radiating from him. He stands still, no longer daring to take another step. "Didn't you try to get me to lose my patience?" Michael continues, his tone steady but unwavering. "Now I can't let you keep challenging me." The tourist dares not reply, unable to do anything but stand there, confused and unsure of how to save face. The veteran stands beside Michael, nodding as if accepting the fact that there is no room for senseless provocation in an environment of discipline and honor. At this point, the entire atmosphere changes. The crowd around them, though some are still uncertain, begins to feel embarrassed and ashamed of the tourist's behavior. The older generations, who have a strong respect for traditional values, begin to speak out against the rudeness of the group of tourists. An elderly woman, still leaning on her cane, looks directly at the tourist group and shouts, "Don't you have any shame? You can joke with your friends, but not with others. That is an unforgivable lack of respect." A few members of the tourist group start blushing, no longer laughing. The elderly woman's words strike them like a hard slap to the face. The crowd's attitude changes, and the opposition grows stronger. "Exactly. You've crossed the line." Another elderly man speaks up, his voice clearly angry. "You can joke with your friends, but here, with these guards, it's about respect." The tourist, at this point, has nothing more to say, trying weakly to justify himself. "Oh, it's just a joke. Everyone doesn't understand." But no one in the crowd forgives him. The cold stares and the critical words from all around make him feel increasingly isolated. Some members of the tourist group begin to show signs of hesitation, quietly withdrawing from the conversation, not wanting to participate in this farce anymore. The tourist, realizing the shift in the crowd's mood, can no longer maintain his confidence and starts to retreat. Finally, after a long, tense silence, an important scene unfolds. The police arrive at the scene, and when the tourist sees them, he knows everything is over. There is no escape. A police officer walks up to him and looks at him with a decisive gaze. "You've violated public regulations," the officer says, his tone calm but firm. "You need to leave this area immediately." The tourist, now completely lacking in confidence, can only weakly respond, "I was just having fun. It's nothing." But his voice no longer holds the strength it once did. He realizes that the rude actions he took cannot be blamed on anyone but himself. The tourist's friends, seeing the situation turn sour, no longer laugh. A few members of the group begin to avoid looking at him. At this point, the sense of shame consumes him, forcing him to quietly walk away, unable to say anything else. As the tourist and his group leave, a woman in the crowd bends down to pick up the coins the tourist had thrown earlier. She looks at the crowd and says, "He deserves to be treated this way. This is no joke." With louder applause, the crowd around Buckingham Palace seems to be reinvigorated by a renewed belief in respect and discipline. Those who witnessed the event no longer feel anger or frustration. They not only stand by Michael, but they also feel the power of determination and respect for the timeless values of society. This is a valuable lesson not only for the tourist but for all those who witnessed the event. Michael, standing firm like a rock, gently adjusts his hat as a subtle yet powerful gesture. He has done his duty, protecting the dignity of the royal family and representing the noble values that he and other soldiers have dedicated themselves to. But that's not all. He has also proven that respect is never a joke. The veteran, standing next to Michael, looks at him with respect. He does not need to say anything further. The silent acknowledgement he offers to Michael is all that he can give. In Michael's heart, those words hold more power than any applause or praise. It is recognition from someone who truly understands the value of sacrifice and discipline. "Thank you, Michael," the veteran says, his voice deep but full of truth. "You've protected what matters more than anything: honor, tradition, and the values we all must uphold." Michael simply smiles gently, his head bowing in respect. He doesn't need to say a word. He knows his actions have said it all. Meanwhile, the tourist, now realizing the gravity of his mistake, stands quietly, his gaze sorrowful. Once again, he lacks the courage to face the criticisms. When the police ask him to leave, he can only stand still, unable to resist. The laughter and arrogance have vanished, replaced by silence, the loneliness he has created for himself. A few members of the tourist group try to maintain their cheerful demeanor, but their eyes betray their unease. They can no longer ignore what has happened. This scene will surely be one of the worst memories of their trip, something they will never forget. As the final steps of the tourist fade into the distance, a calm returns to Buckingham Palace. The crowd begins to disperse, but the whispers continue. Conversations swirl around the incident, and most of them are words of praise for Michael. They know that today, a story about respect and discipline was written, and no one can erase it. The police, after handling the situation, return and look at Michael one last time. "Thank you for keeping order," one officer says, his gaze full of respect. "We know your job is not easy, but you did it very well." Michael simply nods gently, as he always does, without saying a word. He returns to his duties, as if nothing had happened. But those around him, from the polite tourists to the locals, all know that today they witnessed a historical moment where honor and respect triumphed over rudeness and arrogance. Thank you all for watching today's story. If you find this story carries a meaningful lesson about respect and discipline, don't forget to leave a like and share this video to spread this value to everyone around. Let's work together to build a community with respect and mutual understanding. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on today's story and the lessons you've drawn from it. And don't forget to subscribe to the Heartfelt Moments 85 channel to never miss touching stories and deep life lessons that help us understand more about values and cultural traditions around the world. Thank you so much for your support. Let's share these beautiful values to create a more civilized, respectful, and united community.